Hello, it's Ken. If this is our first time together, it certainly is an honor to sit together, to explore, to meditate, to drop into a deeper experience of embodied resonance together. I want to spend just a couple of minutes reflecting on what I mean by restoring resonance before we open into meditation time together and further and drop into transmission, and maybe even kind of address the question, well, what's the difference between meditation and transmission? It's a question that comes up regularly. First, let's talk about resonance for just a minute. Resonance, the reason I love this word so much is that it means whatever it means to you. But you may be wondering, well, Ken, what do you think it means? Here's what I think resonance is. First of all, if we just divide things into two basic groups, just if we allow polarity for just a moment for the sake of clarity here, we could say everything falls into one of two categories. It's either an experience of resonance or it's an experience of dissonance. And if we look at those resonant experiences, those might happen at many, many different levels, right? We could think of emotional or mental resonance, clear thinking. Emotional resonance might be an experience of a deep sense of connection to self or to another or to the divine. Physical resonance might be a reference to the body operating in wholeness, right, on every level, on a cellular level, within each of the systems in the body temple, and so on. And you can imagine, probably you don't even need to imagine, you can think about applications or experiences of resonance beyond the immediate inner experience of what's going on within your being. So that's just sort of the context of resonance. And then when I talk about restoring resonance, the kind of resonance that I'm referring to here specifically is to what I would describe as a sustaining experience of resonance. And if it's resonance that arises in separation, as a function of the illusion of separation, it's an illusory dynamic. That is, it's fleeting. The experience of resonance might show up and then, but it's never going to stick around when it originates out of an experience of separation. And examples of separation might be, an experience of, um, let's say, focusing your thoughts in a certain way and then getting a feeling to happen out of that. In other words, it's dependent on the type of thinking that you're engaged in. And emotional resonance that originates out of emotions might also be categorized in the same way. Mind you, I'm trying to take a huge dip into a deep well here, and I'm trying to do it in a simple way so that we can just sort of understand together what I mean when I'm talking about sustaining resonance. Of course, if you have questions that are coming up, feel free to check in. And I see a couple of folks checking in. Jerry, wonderful to be with you. And Julie, great to be with you as well. Thank you both for checking in, along with Angelica, who said hi before we got started. All of you checking in on the YouTube platform. And here's John checking in as well on Facebook. It's wonderful to be with all of you and everyone else who's here, whether you're participating in the live stream or you're watching this on replay. I'm just so grateful for the chance to connect with you in this way. Okay, so sustaining experiences of resonance. From my perspective, the originating dynamic of this is not coming out of separation, but out of wholeness. And how do we open to our wholeness? The way that I perceive that is a function of opening up to a more complete experience of the divine. And that complete experience, the way I describe it, is an embodied experience. So if we just want to talk about like levels of knowledge as a way of putting this all in context, hopefully in a way that is understandable fairly easily, you could think of, there are thoughts that I have that originate from, let's say, reflecting or thinking, right? And that those are, let's say, intellectual knowledge. And then I might have thoughts that come from conversing with others or engaging in exploration out in the world. And there's an experiential component to that, which is very, very important. And then there's another level of knowledge, to my view, which I call embodied knowledge. And at the level of embodied knowledge, it's not just that you're having an experience of a conversation or an exploration, but you're having a direct experience of the exploration. So, one easy way to illustrate this would be to say, what does it mean to be a child of God? If we could just accept that language for a moment as universally acceptable. And I recognize it may not be, but just for giggles, let's say it is for just a moment. What does it mean to be a child of God? We might have thoughts about that. We might have a conversation together. And what I'm suggesting is at the level of embodied knowledge, once one opens up to have an actual experience of that, a felt in the body experience of that, a direct, we could call that a mystical experience, a direct experience of the divine. Now there's a different level of knowledge that is opening up. And in the same way, an experience of sustaining resonance or the byproducts of the embodied experience of the divine within leads to embodied knowledge of that sustaining resonance. That is to say, resonance that is not originating out of a particular set of thoughts. In fact, there may be no thinking going on whatsoever, and nor is it arising out of a feeling dynamic. That is to say, an emotion might accompany it, but it is not the causing dynamic. The causing dynamic, or the origin of that resonance, I want to suggest, at least in the way that I understand and the way I'm trying to describe it here, and the way I'm inviting you to explore it, in this dynamic, that resonance is coming out of the being experience of the divine within. And from that perspective, that's resonance that isn't dependent on life circumstance. It's not dependent on the thoughts that you're having or the feelings that you're having. In fact, it's not even really dependent on you in the traditional way that we might think of your life is dependent on you. Okay, I just want to pause for a moment because I'd like to acknowledge and say hi to all the folks that are checking in. Jean is saying hi. Yanya is saying hi. Ian is saying hi. Wonderful to be with all of you. Thank you all for checking in and saying hi. And anyone else who'd like to check in a moment, I'm going to close my eyes. And the reason I'm going to do that, I mean, certainly I'll invite you to do the same, but whether you choose to close your eyes or not, I won't be looking at the screen anymore. I'll be in the interior of my experience. It's one of the ways that I am able to, or one of the things I do that supports me in opening up to a deeper experience of the divine within when I move into this sort of witnessing dynamic. And I guess that's the last thing I want to talk about just briefly before we open into our meditation. So, a meditation, to my view, there are a couple of different ways, right? You might have a self-directed meditation. You might have an idea or a mantra that you're reflecting or meditating on. You might just open into an empty space, and there are all sorts of different schools of thoughts and thought and approaches to meditation and so on. Meditation, we'll do guided meditation here in a few minutes, and I'll guide you through something I call divine connecting breath, which maybe you've experienced before. Maybe this is your first time. I'll guide you through it. It's very simple. It's just be my voice inviting you to hold in your awareness different perspectives and so on. And maybe an experience unfolds as a result of that. And then at some point, I'll invite you to remove the universal plug. Don't worry about what that means if you don't understand it right now. I can make reference. There's a YouTube video that I've done that explains that in greater depth, and a training video on divine connecting breath. It's not important right now. I'll invite you to remove the universal plug, and then I'll say, let's begin. And at that point, we're moving, or I would differentiate that from a meditation or a guided meditation now into transmission. And one of the things that I do in that transition zone is I become aware of the aspects of me that are presenting or expressing as all of you, all of us in this virtual circle here, gathered across all these different social media platforms. But the hub of this experience is happening on my YouTube channel. And so in that dynamic, I'm really going inward. I'm not trying to go out to you. I don't actually have a perception that you're out there. It's another reason why I'm very comfortable, and in fact, most comfortable with my eyes closed, because I'm becoming aware of the aspect of me that expresses as you, that is within me, right? So I'm turning my awareness inwardly. And I want to invite you to do the same. You don't need to worry about becoming aware of the aspect of you that's expressing as me or anyone else. In fact, what I would love for you to do and invite you and even challenge you, if you're up for the challenge, to do is to be with your own experience exclusively. And if you can, to set aside all your intention or all the ways that you might be directing your thoughts or prayers or your energy, any of that kind of stuff, running energy, all of these approaches to interacting with yourself or others in the world, and just come to a deeper experience within yourself. From my perspective, the deepest experience of the divine originates for you within you. And the most profound pathway to that experience of sustaining resonance within you, and also, interestingly enough, within the world, for the world, is for each of us to focus on that and open up to it fully within ourselves, very much at the exclusion of thinking about or reflecting or directing energy towards anyone else. Okay, maybe more talking, certainly more talking than I've done in quite a while sitting together here. Maybe more talking than you were expecting. I hope there's some value, some service, some insight associated either with the words that I'm sharing with you, the concepts that I'm sharing, or certainly, especially in whatever is going on underneath the words. I very much encourage you to release any kind of attachment to the idea that something that I'm going to say is going to be important. I'm It's not that I don't think what I say is important, it's that what's much more important than anything that I could share with you with words is the expression that of the divine that expresses as me. That is to say, the divine expression as me, which I sometimes refer to as my spiritual gifts, but they're not mine. They are the divine expression through me, as me, in me, and so on. That is the thing that I think is most important. That is to say, opening up to that direct experience of divinity within you. And as I say, I'm not sending you anything, I'm not doing anything to you. I'm just opening up to that awareness within. And so I invite you to do the same as well. Let's see. Dr. Kim is checking in and saying blessings to you all on this Thanksgiving Eve. Thanks for saying hi and for being here, Dr. Kim. And thank you all. I really am grateful for the opportunity to sit together in this way. For me, this is one of the most meaningful things that I can do. And it's one of the most meaningful things I can do for myself. That is to say, to sit and resonate with myself. It's something I do every day, but in particular, on Monday of this week, I was sitting and journaling. As I've shared with you before, I think journaling, certainly for me, is a very important thing. We've done an exercise before about the transmutation that's available in the journaling dynamic. We went through kind of a workshop dynamic about that. Not too long ago, maybe in the last month or two, for sure in the last month or two. In any case, I was journaling. I was thinking, you know what? There's nothing really more to say. What is it that needs to open up? What is it that I need to be doing right now? I'm sort of asking myself or having a communication with the divine about this. And the answer is very clear. Just sit and resonate. That is to say, sit and embody, sit and restore resonance. And that's exactly what I did in that moment. And that's what I'd like to do with you now. I'd like to support you in opening up to the restoration of something that is already innately within each and every one of us on the planet, a deep, profound experience of divine resonance. And in that experience is the restoration of resonance on every level of our being, physically, energetically, emotionally, and otherwise. All the ways that we understand it and know it, and also in lots of ways that we don't and can't understand, or at least can't know in conventional ways. Yet we can experience them. And this is what I would love to do with you now. So, with that, I invite you to close your eyes if you're comfortable doing so, palms to the sky, also, if comfortable, breathing in and out through the nostrils. Last qualification, if comfortable for you as well. And as we sort of make our way to that interior dynamic, just setting everything else aside, energetically, physically, emotionally, and otherwise. As always, please don't operate a motor vehicle or heavy equipment of any sort during this or any time we're together. There are two main reasons for it. First of all, it's not safe. Perhaps you've had the experience sitting in this circle before or in other ways with me. Many people report, and perhaps you've experienced this, they sort of fall out or go to sleep. They kind of are unable to stay consciously aware of what's unfolding. Sometimes it happens when there's silence. For some people, it may be happening right now, even before we've even begun divine connecting breath. And if you were driving and you thought, oh, this is no big deal, you never know when that's going to happen. And that's not the time to be driving. So, seriously, if you are right now, just pull off to the side of the road and, you know, not safe to operate heavy equipment either. But there's another reason, not it's beyond safety. Give yourself the gift of divine presence. It originates within you. It's not coming from me somehow, in some way, which I can try to describe, and I'm sure I put a great many words to the description of it. The reality is, it's all a mystery. The divine mystery in me is enlivening the divine mystery in you, however that happens. So give yourself the gift of that experience, if you would, please, by setting everything else aside now. And let's do a little bit of breathing together. And we're going to breathe into 2, we're going to hold to 4, and then we're going to release to 8. And we'll do this maybe 3 times. Let's take a deep breath in and hold. And as you begin releasing this breath now, letting go of everything that has come before in this day, all the way out to the count of 8. And as you do, I just invite you to let go of the thoughts and the feelings that have been dominating in your awareness lately, whatever the timeline is, just of late, thoughts and feelings that have dominated, all the way out to the count of 8. I don't know if I said this, but from my perspective, it's so important to be in a comfortable position. So, whatever that is for you, some people like to walk, do a walking meditation. Great, as long as you can be safe for yourself and others, that's beautiful. Or sitting or lying down or whatever. Whatever way is best for you is perfect. The other thing I want to say too before we take another breath as you're just kind of releasing all of these thoughts and feelings, whatever unfolds with whatever follows is perfect. You can't mess this up. Some people, have this experience of tingling or buzzing in their body during divine connecting breath, and maybe it's amplified in some way as we move into transmission together. Other people have no, just an experience of nothing in their body, no thoughts, and everything in between. And whatever that is for you, it seriously, it's perfect. You can't mess this up. If you're just somehow stumbled across this video and you wonder why am I here, it's okay. You don't have to have been meditating for even 60 seconds before in your life. And maybe you are, the head yogi. Maybe you are the absolute most centered mindfulness practitioner, total peace, presence, beautiful, welcome. Everyone is welcome, and you can't mess it up. Another deep breath in and hold. And as you release this breath now, letting go of everything that has come before since you were born, all the way out to the count of 8. And now it's not just thoughts and feelings, but also the dominant way of being that I invite you to let go of, all the way out to the count of 8. And for some, I can feel it already in the circle. For some, you may actually can begin feeling some of that physical resonance, buzzing, tingling, warmth, lots of different ways it shows up. Again, whatever's happening for you is perfect. Another deep breath in and hold. And as you begin releasing this breath now, letting go of everything that has come before since the inception of your soul. Now, not just thoughts, feelings, and manner of being, but also then releasing yourself into the arms of the unknown divine mystery. If you like, you can let go into the arms of the known divine, what you understand or know of the divine. If you're open to it, I invite you to even drop the things that you know and understand of the divine. Open to the more complete expression and experience of that divine and the embodied experience that accompanies that encounter. Now, who knows what that is? And with your eyes closed still and kind of in that, in your mind's eye or your imagination or on the intuitive screen, just notice in front of your face the cue of breath, a unit of breath. You breathe it in, another joins at the back of the cue. And these units of breath, they serve you. And there's no test, there's no condition, no criteria that you have to meet for the breath to come in and serve you. Breath doesn't care what you've done to other people or what's been done to you or really any of the particular details of who you are or your life or anything about you. The breath is just moving in and being released freely. And you may notice in that cue a color. If you're assigning one in your imagination, you can maybe pick something not normally present in your body except perhaps your eyes. And notice almost like a food dropper in water, this color is kind of spreading out through the cue of breath. Eventually, the entire cue is that color. It might be static, it might be one color, or it might be changing. It might be this dynamic expression of color. And with your next breath, when you're ready, be with the breath from the perspective of the color. It moves in through the nostrils and then travels up towards the crown and then down into the lungs. And just sit in the lungs there and continue breathing at whatever depth and tempo feels right for you. And just notice how this color just continues to infuse itself into the lungs. And you can even see the color. It begins to move. It's sort of painting the lining of the lungs, and then it migrates through the lung lining into the bloodstream of the body. And if you move time forward just a little bit, you'll see that color beginning to spread throughout the entire body. And eventually, each and every cell in the body is imbued with that color. And there's a simple statement, a conclusion we can draw from this. And I'll make the statement here in just a moment. I'm inviting you to just be aware of how you respond to this statement. How does your body respond? How does your mind respond? What do you see intuitively? What do you experience? What do you hear? You don't have to look for these things with a microscope or a telescope. Just let them envelop you, whatever they are. It might be nothing, right? Here's the statement. The breath is becoming you, and you are becoming the breath. And there we go. That resonance begins moving through. It's a simple statement. I'll make it again. The breath is becoming you, and you are becoming the breath. Rationally, sure, you breathe, lungs, oxygen, cells, yep, makes sense. But there may be those extra layers of awareness, the physical resonance of your body, of your field saying, yes, yeah. And you may not feel anything. Whatever you're experiencing is perfect. And if you just gently allow yourself to shift from this perspective in the lungs to maybe outside the body, maybe looking down on yourself, perhaps even at a great distance, notice the breath of the planet. It serves you. The breath in your cue is coming from the breath of the planet. And so it is for your neighbor and your neighbor's neighbor and everyone in your region or your island or your continent, your hemisphere, east, west, north, south, and the planet. And there's another simple statement we can draw here. With each breath, you are connected by the breath of the planet to every single person on the planet. And notice how the breath of the planet doesn't just serve the people, it serves everything. Again, without condition or criteria. Right now, there's a little bit of potential dissonance around the breath. And truth be told, I've been teaching divine connecting breath for more than 10 years now. There's always been a little dissonance around it. With my breath, I'm connected to everyone. There's some people I don't want to be connected with, maybe, or right now, we have this pandemic on. The breath is the way the pandemic spreads. We don't want to spread that. If you just let go of this, the breath, ultimately, the breath of the planet, it's just a mirror, a reflection of a much deeper and more intimate source of connection that exists between us all. And that essential connection, let's leave it at the level of breath for now, it doesn't move stuff. Like my stuff doesn't become your stuff, and that person over there, their stuff, their noise, their challenges, that's not yours. And you could be confused and think it is. You could get caught up with that dynamic. You could get drawn into all that drama around that. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're just talking about this basic connection. It's a connection actually in resonance, not in dissonance, in resonance. The breath of the planet serves everyone and everything. And with each breath, you are connected to everyone and everything above, upon, and within the planet itself. Indeed, as you sink deeper into the interior experience of this divine connecting breath guided meditation, you might become aware that you are breathing by and for and of the planet itself. You might even feel the breath moving through your skin, through your entire body as you breathe in and out. It's like your whole being begins to glow. The resonance expands. And notice the breath of the planet expands out and becomes the breath of the cosmos. At the very edge of our atmosphere, that breath touches space and in turn, eventually every other part of all of creation. And so we can say with each breath, you are connected to everyone and everything in the cosmos, including that energy that underwrites everyone and everything. Perhaps it presents as a light. We could call it the divine. Perhaps that light originates at a tremendous distance. Maybe even visually, you can see it way out there, coming closer with each breath. Eventually, it draws close enough that you're able to perceive those twin frequencies that are intertwined and together express as the light, the frequency of the divine itself, and the frequency of perfect health, intertwined such that there is no separating one from the other. Where one is present, so too the other. That light, be it a waveform or a particle, eventually drawing close and connecting in, perhaps through the nostrils, and then instantaneously through every aspect of your being, your body, your field, the invitation to each aspect of you, known and unknown, come return to your natural state of resonance and alignment. The invitation extended to each of the smallest aspects of you. You might even feel it now, those artifacts of dissonance beginning to fall away and gather at the universal drain as that resonance expands throughout your body, throughout the entirety of your field. The restoration, the return to the visceral, the in the body, felt in the body experience of the source, of the one, of the nameless one, of the divine, erupting through every aspect of you. This beautiful transformation, or what appears as a transformation, as all these aspects of you return to resonance, those artifacts of dissonance gathering at the universal drain. For whatever remains in separation, I invite you to remove the universal plug. I'll do the same as we remind ourselves the divine is becoming you and you are becoming the divine. With each breath, you are connected to everyone and everything, the divine, the light, the twin frequencies, connecting into each of the smallest aspects of you on every level, known and unknown. The artifacts of dissonance falling away and departing the field through the universal drain, where they, of their own accord, return to their natural state and wholeness. The divine is becoming you, and you are becoming the divine. Let's begin. My natural inclination is to drop language here because the words offer very little, perhaps enough for whatever is still remaining in separation or as yet unintegrated in whatever ways the mind is reflecting, projecting, and so on. You can always remind yourself with each breath, the divine is becoming you and you are becoming the divine. And this is true. But if there is no reason to remind yourself, you can drop that and be in the direct encounter and experience of the restoration of resonance, the re-encounter with what is real, this divine presence that has always been within you, expressed fully in the wholeness of every cell, every thought, every action, every memory, no matter how distorted your experience of those aspects of you may be or have been. And so there's nothing to do but to be, feel whatever is coming up. But if you can, let go of the thoughts that are directing or wanting to control. They are as a stop sign to the divine. You can lay the stop sign down for now and re-exert control later if you'd like, and marinate in the resonance of divine presence, wherever that might lead you, however that might express through you. The river is flowing. Whatever's coming up, just really open to feel it fully. There might be some discomfort emotionally or physically. There might be a vast emptiness, perhaps a thought of tomorrow or next week or the end of the year or of last year or 20 years ago. Or it's okay, be with whatever's unfolding. And if the pattern becomes dominant, you can disrupt it by reminding yourself with each breath. The breath is becoming you, and you are becoming the breath. The divine is becoming you, and you are becoming the divine. Sometimes there is much to be gained from noticing patterns or understanding things. But here in this space, attempting to notice the pattern um, is to engage in an aspect of your being presence, not rooted in the being, but in the thinking. And there's an opportunity to sink from the head down into the heart to the feeling, and then deeper into the hips. You don't have to direct it, you don't have to cause it to happen. It's the natural movement energetically of coming home in the body. It is the spiritual home of your embodied soul and the vessel of your physical being. And so if thoughts or thinking are drawing your focus, be fully with it. And when you're ready, just remind yourself the divine is becoming you, and you are becoming the divine. Back into the mystery revealing itself in you, through you, and as you. Hmm. Sometimes with this comes a feeling of gravity being turned up, which isn't always necessarily interpreted as a positive experience, but in this context, it's a very positive sign of a more embodied encounter, a more soul embodied encounter with the divine. Sometimes with that, things can feel slower, heavier. Sounds, my voice can disappear. Just be with whatever is unfolding within you. It's far more important than anything that could be said. Mm. Mm. Beautiful. We'll sit together and be in transmission for a little while longer. Um, and I just invite you to be fully with your experience, however it's unfolding. If you feel drawn to reflect on it or give voice to it, you can always put something in the chat. Uh, Generally, I think those come back to me. I'll do my best to respond to them here in just a moment. And if you're sitting in that space and wondering, how could I possibly open my eyes or lift a finger to type something beautiful, just be with the experience. There's no need to give voice, just wanted to open to that possibility if that was something that is really strong for you. Mm. Sherry is just sharing, grateful for our time together here. So grateful you're here as well, Sherry. It's a very, very powerful movement through the end of the year up into the solstice that really um, can be a very profound transit through the end of the year and opening into the new year. This process of opening up to restoring resonance can really support everything else that is going on right now in that transit. If you find yourself stirred up, disoriented in any way, um, having an encounter with a little bit of dissonance, this would be a powerful resource to come back and revisit, to restore resonance, to open to a deeper embodied experience of the divine. It's such a powerful antidote to all the different facets of everyday life that can push our buttons and stir things up. When we also then sink in and feel whatever got stirred up, even as we're having a more soul embodied experience of ourselves, that can lead to a dynamic of transmuting that dissonance. Very powerful process wherein a more complete expression of the divine resources and gifts that are available to you to express through you are made available by that process. Very, very powerful. Easy to look at that dynamic in life and think, boy, every time I get my buttons pushed, I've done something wrong. Be wonderful to reframe that and be able to celebrate that. Oh, here comes another aspect of my whole self, just holding its hand up and saying, I'm ready to be integrated now. That's exactly what's happening. And you can accelerate that by opening up a deeper experience of soul embodiment while feeling, expressing whatever is coming up. Well, there are lots of different resources that are available here on my channel to support that, and in other ways through the Resonance Institute. And but this is a wonderful resource as well, right here, right now, as often as you like. Beautiful. So beautiful. Let's begin making a formal transition out of transmission together. And the first way we can do that, and I invite you to do so now, is just to begin returning that universal plug as I do the same and begin bringing this transmission to a close for now. I have just a few kind of concluding comments here to make for an easy transition. One thing I'll suggest to you is that if there are things that are coming up, like, oh my goodness, I feel really thirsty, and drink some water or hydrate in whatever way is most resonant for you. If what's coming up is a sense of being deeply relaxed, or, oh, my body's ready to go to sleep, if you can, go to sleep, take a nap, or go to sleep for the night. Even if it doesn't fit with how you think, well, that's not how this day was going to go. There's some very deep work that you've been doing, and it's really important to be able to honor that to the degree that you're able. If you can, be fully with whatever's showing up. If you feel like taking a walk or doing a dance, take a walk or do a dance. You get the idea. Okay, plug all the way in. Transmission to a close now. Such an honor to sit and explore and restore resonance together in this circle with you. Thank you so much for making yourself part of the circle, for giving me an opportunity to sit and witness of you, and also for the opportunity to support and serve you in your spiritual journey and in your journey as a spiritual messenger, as you open to those deeper expressions of the divine mystery in all the ways that they continue to reveal themselves to you. All right, beautiful. Until we're together again very soon. Bye for now. Peace.